All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Who's Crushing It segment of the REI Marketing Weekly. Man, I'm telling you, I am super excited. I've had some absolutely incredible guests on the show the past few weeks, and I am just even more excited to have one of my good buddies and one of my clients, Don Costa out of Northern California, on the show today. And man, this guy, like, just a complete wizard in what he does. Everything he does, like, it's like everything he does touches to gold, right? And you even said that. Is that like knock on wood?
That's bad luck.
and that's what in your story, like, that's the thing that I always like think about is you talk about before the crash, like everything you said, like everything you touched turned to gold. So,
Right.
but no, for real, guys, like just an insane amount of experience and wisdom that this guy has. If you don't know who he is, you must be living under a rock. So I'll give him the opportunity to talk about how to connect with him and listen to his shows and everything. Also got a mastermind shameless plug here that I actually help service as well, and I'm a part of. And we'll talk about that kind of at the end. But Don, do me a really big favor for the 1% of people that are watching right now that don't know who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing that kind of stuff. Just give us a background of who Don Costa is today.
Sure. So the quick synopsis of who I am. I started real estate investing in 2003. I actually started door knocking, pre-foreclosures, and doing subject to purchasing. Did that for about 5 years, built a great company, what I thought was a great company. Everything I touched turned to gold. Arrogance, bad leadership, bad just everything. 2008 caught me off guard and put me in a whirlwind spiral of losing everything for several years. Through that, I reemerged in 2012, put my company back together again, built a real business this time, worked on being a better leader, a better husband, better father, better everything. And today I run a business that wholesales and flips houses. We rehab and wholesale. We do well over 100 projects a year. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride. I look back on it, 2003. So, I'm looking at 17 years now in this game. That makes me feel real old to say that out loud, but 17 years in this game with a minor hiatus of getting my butt handed to me.
That's funny. Just to make you feel a little older, I always have to do this to people. I had a guy named Dylan Tanaka on the show last week out of Detroit, and he started in 2002. And he's like, dude, you were in like second grade. I'm like, yeah, I was. So, yeah, I was probably in elementary school. So,
yeah, fantastic.
So.
Hey,
but guys, that gives you a understanding of how long he's been in this and how much experience he has. So,
yeah.
Hey, Don, age is just a number.
Listen, hey, I wouldn't trade it. I got young kids. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I feel young. I'm going to stay young as long as I can. And I got a tremendous amount of wisdom behind it. So I'm going to utilize it. So absolutely.
All right. So the topic that we're going to talk about today is something that we've actually never addressed on the show, but I really, really want to dig deep into this because it is extremely important. So you guys know me. You guys know I talk about content marketing all the time. And Don is a content person. I mean, just an absolute insane library of content that he has out on the internet sphere. So you guys can go consume that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on the show here. But one thing that Don does extremely well that I've heard him talk about a couple of times is analyzing his marketing. And we all know that you could spend a lot of marketing on postcards, on running Facebook ads, on putting out banner signs, on just about anything marketing related, and you could throw a lot of money completely down the trash can, right? So that's something that a lot of people have done and may even continue to do, not knowing that they could get more bang for their buck if they focused on something that's actually working. And we all know, in marketing, you got to do A/B testing. You got to, try things out and see what's going to work for you, because what works for this person is not going to work for this person, because as we know, real estate is kind of becoming this localized market as opposed to a nation market. So, what works for somebody in Dallas does not work for somebody in Detroit. What works for somebody in Tampa does not work for somebody in Fresno, California.
Right.
And so you've really got to adjust your marketing accordingly. But how do you do that? That's something that nobody really talks about except for Don. So I'm going to have him talk about that. So really quickly, I want you, not really quickly, I want you to spend time on this. I want you to talk about, there's really going to be two questions here. First of all, what do you do to analyze your marketing and figure out where to put your money? And then the second question, so let's start with that. And then the second question is going to segue into how do you determine like where to put your actual marketing dollars and when to turn that off if it's not working? So
Right.
let's talk about that first. So what are some things that people need to be analyzing in their marketing in order to see if something's working or not?
Yeah. So let me kind of set the stage for that. The human aspect of what we do, that our nature as human beings is we make a lot of assumptions. We base things off of feeling, what we think is instinct, what we think we know. And what I have found when it comes to data is that 9 times out of 10, what I feel and what I see on paper is wrong. They differentiate, that they're not the same. And I ran my business by feeling for a long time. I deployed marketing dollars and I felt like it was getting a return, or I felt like it wasn't. And I didn't look at the data. I was running, basically, it's like a a rudderless ship, right? You're not, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you've been. So in marketing, there is this like S curve for success in marketing. There is the lower level where if you're not spending enough marketing dollars in your market, whatever channel that is, you're not getting results. You're just throwing money away. Then you have this ups kind of takeoff area where if you are spending enough marketing dollars in that particular channel, you're having success, as you're going into it. And the more you spend, the more success you have. And then you hit this slope at the top where it's the law of diminishing returns, where basically you get to that point where you have basically dug deep into your market, hit everything you could possibly hit as many times as you can hit in your market. And now it doesn't matter how much money you spend, you're throwing money away.
Right.
And the key is to understand that sweet spot and how to get into that sweet spot and stay in that sweet spot. And the only way to do that's through tracking the data, tracking the information in your marketing. So what we started doing a few years back is we started split testing our marketing. If we send a certain list, say, let's just use postcards, for example, because that's primarily the marketing we do.
Yeah.
If we do an owner occupied equity list with a green postcard, we're using one phone number and we're calling it like, 40 to 99%, 559, 40 to 99% NOO green. We're labeling it. We know the split test. And so we're able to track, okay, how many calls came in off of that? How many calls were leads? How many leads converted to appointments? How many appointments converted to contracts? And then how many contracts closed and what those dollars were. And so we're literally tracking that. And we got like well over 100 phone numbers at this point in time. Every time we changed the list or the postcard variation, like we went crazy tracking, probably a little more than you need to, but we were able to see, like, did this postcard perform better than this postcard? Did this list perform better than this list at this time of year? All those different variations. We got that data back and it allowed us to kind of see where we were throwing money away, where we were most profitable, and even like when, like how often the mail, those kind of things. It really kind of, like, I had a list I mailed every 30 days that was just as profitable as a list I mailed about every 90 days. And the only difference really was the fact that I spent more money on the list by mailing it more often than I should have. So being able to see that data, now we know where and how to deploy our dollars, where and how to deploy them properly to get the best result. I know the last 2 years in a row that marketing is super, super hot until roughly July.
Yeah.
And then some channels kind of fall off. And the year before last, I thought like direct mail, for instance, takes a dip, right after the summer. I thought it was because of the election. But this last year, we kind of had the same result. Mm-hmm. So I know now that some marketing dollars I want to deploy in the first half of the year really hot and heavy, and then take the foot off the gas into the second half of the year and put my dollars somewhere else. So you start to see those trends. We still split test. We still want to make sure we're verifying the data we're getting is correct, but we start really deploying our dollars where it matters, if that makes sense. So 2018, I sent out 1.2 million postcards based on the data that came back. In 2019, I sent out about 750,000 postcards. I was able to roughly 500,000 postcards less and still get the same result.
A lot of information. Holy crap. Okay. So let's know. That's incredible. So so you guys understand now why it's so important to track your marketing. So I said it was only going to be 2 questions. I got a third one that I will sneak in here to kind of lay that groundwork and give somebody actionable things that they can do. So just from my standpoint, I'll just tell you, Don's a little bit of a different breed. I personally don't like analytics. I don't like data. I hate it. And I know that. And Don's actually really good at analyzing that data, and he has a team behind him that helps him with that as well. For me, I've got a person on my team that helps me analyze the data because I don't like doing it. When I look at numbers, I freak out, I shake, I go hide in a dark corner of a room. Like I don't want anything to do with it. But the important thing is to actually do it. There's probably a lot of things in your business that you don't like doing. We always got to do something in our business that we don't like doing, but it's going to drive revenue. Not just drive revenue, it's going to drive net profit, which is the number that you want to be going after anyway. But it's going to allow you to be more profitable with your deals as opposed to spending marketing dollars that you don't need. So, for somebody that's listening, Don, that might, listen to everything that you said and they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But, what is something I can do today to start tracking that? Like, how do I start? Where do I start with tracking my marketing data? Because you talk about everything that's working for you and how you've done it. So what is something that you would tell somebody like where they need to start with tracking their data? I mean, do you keep track of all this stuff in spreadsheets and in a CRM or, ClickFunnels or whatever? How does all this, like, where does somebody start?
So first I want to say that I'm not a data person. I'm a visionary on my personality profiles. I am very low detail oriented. Data is usually not my thing, but I am an entrepreneur who likes to make money. And when the data comes back and says I can save X and make Y, I get excited.
It's a motivator.
So, yeah. It's a motivator. I get excited. And then I'm like, wow, this is really cool stuff. And then suddenly data's sexy, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But by nature, it's not my thing. So I
lipstick on a pig, right?
Lipstick on a pig. I will tell you, if you're not a data person, once you get into it and you start doing it, it's painful, but and getting started with anything, right? But once you get it going, you're going to be excited about it.
Yeah.
I use an Excel spreadsheet still. I still do when I'm tracking a lot of the marketing stuff. I keep it real simple. I'm just logging the information. So when we deploy marketing dollars in a specific marketing channel, we're logging. This is the date we did it. This is where we did it. This is why we did it. This is how we did it. And then we're tracking the results. And my team does the reporting back, as far as, this split test returned X, this many properties, this many dollars. We spent this many dollars to get it. This is how much we made on it. This is the percentage of the cost per deal. This was the cost per deal. So like I have some channels that, in direct mail, which can be super expensive in some markets, that are as low as $1,600 a deal on that particular marketing channel. So by separating them out, I can see like some of them are up here, some of them are down here, some of them aren't returning any money. And it's a very simple exercise. It's documenting, right? Like we did an interview just a few minutes ago about, what do you want to do with video content, where you just document, you take the time to document what you're doing. And so it's that extra step of stopping and going, okay, what am I doing here? And just logging that in, and then having someone on your team or yourself go back and look at the results in 2 weeks, 30 days, 90 days, and see, like we do. Right now we're doing a 30, a quarter, and an annual. And so at the end of the year, we're looking at all the results for the year and looking at making a plan to redeploy dollars for the next year.
Got it. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So if, you discover like, hey, this marketing channel is not working as well as this other one. Or maybe even you go to a mastermind event or you network with somebody and somebody is like, hey, we're doing this and you're not currently doing that. And you're like, oh, I should try that out.
Right.
How do you kind of gauge when to turn off a faucet for marketing because there's too much money flowing out, not enough leads coming in? And then how do you gauge when you start a new marketing sequence up for another like function in your marketing? Like, how do you gauge between those two? Because I know it's something a lot of people struggle with. They get, 7 months down the road and they, because a lot of times, with direct mail, sometimes you're getting deals 2 years later, like, that stuff happens. So then you're like afraid to shut it off because, you can get deals down the road.
Right.
But there might be other things in marketing that you could put your money into that are going to get leads quicker, yield quicker results and more results. So there's a lot of variables. Like, how do you kind of juggle between the two?
There is a lot of variables. And the one thing that I will say is that what's made me successful this time around is I pick a lane and I stay in that lane. Like, I don't do 5 different marketing channels out of the gate. I pick a lane, I master it, and then I add another channel, and I master that, and then I add another channel. So
great advice.
I don't chase shiny objects. I stick with what's working. And then when I feel like my team, myself, we got that dialed in, we go to the next thing. That's number one. Number two is, you got to make sure, you got to ask yourself a few questions with the marketing channel. Am I spending enough money to actually make it work? Because in some markets, PPC might be, $8,000 to $12,000 a deal. Well, if you're only spending, $2,000 a month, and you're not getting any deals, you're throwing money away. Should I turn it off? Well, yeah, you should, or spend more money to make it worth your while.
Right.
So you got to ask yourself, okay, am I deploying enough dollars in this marketing channel to make it viable in the market that I'm in and make it successful? If I'm not, then I can't turn it off. If you are, and you should be getting deals in the market, is my team taking advantage of every opportunity to make that lead source successful? Are they
Sure.
executing the phone call right? Are we
Yeah.
doing live answer? Are we doing follow-up? I'm telling you, like, when you break it down, a significant portion of my business is follow-up. The reason why direct mail works for me so well is because our follow-up systems are insane. We're like crazy follow-up people that are about ready to get the police called on us 24/7. So, but that's what makes it successful. And so is your team doing everything that they can to really maximize that marketing source? If the answer is no, well, can I get them there or not? So if the answer is, we're deploying the dollars, my team's doing everything they can, everything they should be doing, and I can honestly look in the mirror and say that, then maybe your market isn't viable for that marketing channel. So, or, there's another variable there that needs to be looked at. So I guess the $1 million question is, did you look at everything? Did you make sure that you got the data, the data, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, your team's still doing what they're supposed to be doing or not? And that's,
Yeah.
hopefully I answered that question, but
Yeah.
there's a lot there.
There's a lot of variables. Yeah. Cause you got to
Yeah.
make sure that your follow-up systems are in
Right.
check, because
Mhm.
you could be bringing in leads and quality leads, but if nobody's following up with them and doing the proper steps in that, you're not going to close deals. There's
But
a lot there. Yeah.
that's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is, well, they'll turn marketing dollars on and they'll feed their team and they'll just walk away. They'll go play golf for a week. They'll go on vacation for a
Yeah.
week. They'll go, and they're not paying attention to their business.
Like, I got my marketing on autopilot.
Right. Gary posted a post about this the other day, which basically, as visionaries, we want to hire integrators and make them do all the work. Well, if we're not there making sure that we're tweaking and steering the ship, things can fall through the cracks, and we may think we're deploying everything like we're supposed to, and we're not. So
Yeah.
as business owners, we got to be accountable to making sure that our team has the tools, training, opportunities that they need to be successful.
Yeah.
And again, you got to look in the mirror and say, am I doing all that? Then I am, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, then maybe that's when the marketing channel gets turned off.
All right. So every once in a while I have an epiphany. When I'm interviewing somebody and they say something and I'm like, holy crap, I just thought of something that maybe other people have thought of, but I don't hear about it.
Right.
When you're talking about follow-up, I'm thinking like, a lot of people think follow-up is sales. It's not. It's marketing.
No, it is.
Follow-up is marketing, guys.
That is a channel in its own.
Yeah. So that's huge. Like, and if you do follow-up properly, you have the right systems for it and the processes in place for it, and you utilize it the right way, it can be the best marketing for you. I mean, okay, so let me just give you a clear example right here, right now. What was it, Don? Last July or August is when John Martinez shot that post out, basically giving me a testimonial, blowing me up, and you reached out to me. And you and I had conversations over probably the next 5 to 6 months after that. And there was a couple times that I was like, hey, Don, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bug you. I'm not trying to annoy you. I'm just trying to do my part in following up. And then your response was the money's in the follow-up. And that right there clicks for me, because, it's not sales, it's marketing. Like, I'm marketing to you, basically saying, hey, Don, I'm just doing my part, man. Making sure that I'm not, it's the whole customer experience, customer service thing. I'm trying to make sure that you don't fall through the cracks. And I'm basically, another word for marketing is reputation. And I'm giving you my reputation of like, Don, I'm going to be on you, making sure that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing in order to, provide value to you. And it's the same thing,
Well, no, I agree. And what you did was perfect, because it sets the example of just anything with this business or any other business but especially this business. Marketing this business, okay, there are variables, like you can pick certain lists where people are more likely to want to sell, with different distress points or different issues and whatnot. But the reality is that who is going to sell and when they're going to sell and for what they're going to sell is completely random. I don't care what anybody says. I really don't care. I've done enough data in this. It's random is all hell. We have variables that make it more likely that we're going to catch the fish in that pond, but whether or not they're a fish in that pond, whether or not they're going to bite is random.
Yeah.
And so when we get the opportunity to have somebody put their hand up and say that I may be somebody that's interested, it's important for us to stay there with them and let them know that when they're ready, we're available, and to be front and center in front of mind. It's the same thing with sending out direct mail or text messages and being consistent. And that is, we want to be there when they're ready to see the message. So you following up with me was, I just wasn't ready right now, and I had some things I had to get in line,
Yeah.
and you didn't want me to forget about you when I was ready to see the message.
Right.
And so when I was ready to see the message, you were right there, and you're the first person I thought of. And that's really the importance of follow up in this business is you got so many random things out there that you don't want to let the opportunities that are putting their hand up and saying that I may be one of those fall through the cracks because you weren't front and center when they're ready to see the message.
Absolutely, man. That's such a great rabbit trail conversation right there. I love that. That was fantastic. Anything else, Don, that we're missing that I haven't asked you a question about in marketing? Any other nuggets that you want to give? I mean, you've dropped so much value in here, but I want to make sure that I'm, utilizing this call to the fullest potential. So, is there anything you want to add on in marketing that maybe it's nothing to do with analyzing your data in marketing or anything we talked about that you want to add here?
I think that, there's so many things, so many directions I can go with marketing. It's something that I really, we are a marketing and data company. They say sales and marketing, but we're a marketing and data company first.
Yep.
But the one thing I want to do is just hammer home on, find the channel or two that you're comfortable with, that you feel like, whether it's cold calling or text messaging or direct mail, that you feel good about, that you can really teach your team and teach yourself and buckle down on, and then stay in that lane until you really master it and make it successful. I want to hammer that in because every time you go to a different event or listen to different podcasts, somebody's got some different awesome idea that works for them. And you're going to spend your time chasing your tail if you don't focus in and hone in on one or two things right now and master that. That's really the way to be successful in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you said that too. I mean, when you were interviewing me, you asked me what are some bad practices when it comes to content marketing, and I told you that don't try to a lot of people try to be everywhere at once and be omnipresent, and that's not the way you want to go because you're not going to master any of those. It's a whole thing of, do you want to be a jack of all trades or a master of one, or if you're a jack of all trades, you're not a master of anything. So it's the same thing and same principle in marketing, guys. And I completely agree with what Don's saying here. Pick something, master it. If it's getting you, if it's yielding you results, feed the beast more.
Absolutely.
Feed it more, and it's going to grow and grow and grow. And then at some point it might die off, but that's why keeping a pulse on it is extremely important, because like we mentioned earlier, you can't just, set it and forget it with marketing. You've got to keep a pulse on it at all times. You don't have to, be on it 24/7, but you definitely want to check in on it. That's why, having the proper KPIs for your marketing is so vital and important. So, man, Don, I've said it like a couple of times, but I wish I would make these interviews so short. We could, do a 2-hour show. You're just dice it up. Like next time I'm just going to interview for you for 2 hours and split into 2 shows, but
I'll come back on 5 more times. Yeah,
exactly. So I appreciate everything that you've shared so far. I mean, absolutely incredible wisdom and knowledge. I mean, guys, this guy has been in this for a very long time, has a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom to share. And he's out there, right? So he's got Flip Talk, which I'll have you talk about in just a second here, but do what he is saying here because it works. He's a practitioner of this. You guys know that I don't get people on here that are just gurus and they just talk about stuff.
Right.
I only get people on here that are actually practitioners and they're doing what they're saying they're doing and they're yielding results from that. So do what he's saying, and you guys will amp up your marketing. So Don, again, I appreciate you jumping on. If somebody want to get in contact with you, I know we've got Inner Circle Elite coming up here in a couple of short weeks in Las Vegas. I'm excited about joining you for that. And then, obviously we've got more events coming up in the year. So let's talk about Inner Circle Elite just real quick. Let people know what it is, how they can find out more about it. You have the best domain that I've ever seen for a mastermind before. So kudos to you for that. And then talk about Flip Talk and then other pieces of content that you put out that people can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the Mastermind Inner Circle Elite. We're just trying to build the right community of people going the same direction, and working on building better businesses. Whether that means bigger for you, or that just means more stability, or what that looks like, we want to help you build a better business. And if you're interested in being a part of a community, go to beinthisroom.com and apply. And Mike Calper will reach out to you and have a conversation, fill you in on who we are, what we're about, and make sure we're all a good fit, and go from there. So you can find me. Flip Talk podcast is 3 years old last October. So there's a ton of content there. We have the Flip Talk Rookie Playbook, which is a totally different podcast that goes from week one on how to just get started. You want to have this crazy idea of getting started in real estate. What do you do first? And we go through 49 weeks there. And I'm all over Facebook. You can reach me at donaldfliptalk.com. I mean, I've been putting out content for 3 years, and it's been a crazy ride. So
Absolutely. And guys, just the amount of content if you could tell, this guy's a massive giver, and
right.
that's something that revolves around him. And so make sure that you reach out to him, connect with him. Everything's going to be linked in the description below, so you guys can check that out. Make sure you do. So Don, again, man, thank you so much for being on. I'm definitely going to be having you back again soon to talk about more marketing stuff. So thanks for being on, and I'll catch you a little bit later down the road. I'll see you in a couple of weeks too.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. That is it for today's segment of Who's Crushing It on the REI Marketing Weekly. Again, make sure you check out the description for everything I'm leaving down there for links to connect with Don and all of the content that he puts out. And then also make sure you're checking out the rest of the content in the newsletter. A lot of great stuff that's going down, the resource of the week, my tip that I give you for marketing, and then the weekly update. So make sure you check that out. Share this around with your friends. I would much appreciate that. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Reach out to me if you have any questions. See you later.